the most corrupt politician in America, just became the Republican nominee for the United States Senate. 3 years ago, Ken Paxton was impeached by his own party for using his public office to enrich himself and his donors at the expense of the people. That kind of corruption is the rot at the core of this broken system. It's why we can't afford anything. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. Ken Paxton has gotten away with it. They've all gotten away with it. But that ends this year, in this state, in this race. If we, the people, can come together to defeat the most corrupt politician in America, we can defeat this entire corrupt system. It's time to come together. The people versus Ken Paxton.
It's Wednesday, May 27, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. Rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Progress Texas amplifies progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no paywall podcasts and digital media, we make Texas politics easy to understand and to participate in. And your support for fact-based independent media hands the mic to millions of Texans. Thanks so much to Marla and May, Teresa Boisseau, and Loreto Izaguirre for their ongoing sustaining support. We really appreciate it. Last night's primary defeat of Senator John Cornyn by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and the Republican primary runoff for Senate feels like a moment of clarity from several different angles. First and foremost for me is the idea that the Republican Party of Reagan and Bush and McCain is pretty much officially dead. Going by the Texas Tribune's tally from last night, almost 886,000 Texas Republicans decided that Ken Paxton, representing the new vanguard of truly ethics-free and lawless baseline conduct, fraud and abuse of office and impeachment and wanton public adultery, all now fair game in both governmental practice and personal conduct, all in the name and the image of Donald Trump, were preferable to the last wispy echoes of that old Reagan guard, for whom it was all about money, big business, and power, don't get me wrong, but there was still at least a facade of basic decency. Paxton cleaned Cornyn's clock last night, almost 64% of the Republican runoff vote, with a little over 500,000 of those voters trying to cling to the old days in the face of a tsunami of hostility and grievance represented by the MAGA movement. We're thinking about those folks this morning, the Texans who voted Cornyn, who are possibly now looking for a new place for themselves in the politics of Texas. Chances are you know some of these people, and their faces are popping to mind right now. Today is maybe a good day to place a call or pop by and have a talk about the importance of steadying and improving our democratic institutions, repairing and strengthening our international alliances with other democracies, and perhaps restoring meaning to the rule of law. Ken Paxton is officially the opponent of Democratic Senate nominee and State Rep James Tallarico, who, regardless of theories about his dietary choices, is likely just as dismayed at the price of brisket as you and I are. The Paxton win feels like a gift, but it also serves as a dire warning. Most of our opposition across Texas are not coming around. In fact, most of them are more dug in than ever in opposing that basic decency we've been talking about this morning. The Texas right-wing lunatic fringe will fight hard, and they will fight dirty over the next 160 days, and they will show up en masse on November 3rd. That said, if the fight against MAGA over the next 5 months is equally determined, there's every reason to be optimistic. J. David Goodman and Lauren McGowie at the New York Times are saying that mainstream Republican operatives are openly admitting that Paxton's presence at the top of the fall Republican ballot will be a boat anchor for independent voters and women and those aforementioned traditional institutionalist Republicans you've been thinking about. While these disaffected Cornyn voters might be unlikely to cross party lines and actually push a button for James Tallarico, too many of those voters opting out altogether is the real danger that the Paxton-Abbott-Trump GOP faces this fall. Moving through the rest of the runoff results, the race for Texas Attorney General had runoffs on both sides and has been decided. For the Democrats, Dallas State Senator Nathan Johnson scored a decisive win over challenger and former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski with over 60% of the vote. He'll be opposite fellow Texas State Senator MAGA Mays Middleton, who successfully purchased the Republican nomination and out-MAGA'd Congressman Chip Roy, who's got to be rethinking his choices this morning. For Lieutenant Governor, State Rep and Progress Texas endorsee Vicki Goodwin secures the Democratic nomination to face Dan Patrick, polling in close to 68% over Houston Union Leader Marcos Velez. Congrats to Rep Goodwin and her team. Congratulations also to Congressman and Progress Texas endorsee Christian Menifee, who also won decisively over his runoff opponent and fellow Congressman Al Green. Just shy of 70% of the vote in a race that was very much about generational priorities given the recent history of CD18. An even more massive but honestly less surprising win for Kevin Burge in CD24. He's also a Progress Texas endorsee and took that race with over 78% of the vote. Kevin Burge now faces a much tougher test against Republican Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne. Closer but nonetheless convincing, Democratic voters in CD33 chose former Congressman Colin Allred over CD32 incumbent Julie Johnson. Allred is now poised to replace the lawmaker who replaced him in Washington, D.C. The CD25 race in South Texas got a lot of press lately due to a highly flawed Democratic frontrunner in Maureen Galindo, but luckily enough Democrats down there saw the light and voted instead for Progress Texas endorsee Johnny Garcia, who took that race by almost 64%. Let's note that over 7,000 South Texas Democrats, despite a national uproar, still showed up and voted for Maureen Galindo. And that about 6,000 more Republican votes down there went to Garcia's November opponent, Carlos de la Cruz, brother of South Texas Congresswoman Monica de la Cruz. That's going to be a hot one to watch. At the state house level, Progress Texas endorsee and Dallas State Rep Benton Jones coasted to an over 83% victory. And check this out, the last of our 7 endorsements in the runoff ends in a massive upset victory for former Houston City Council member Letitia Plummer from Ahmed Humble at the Houston Chronicle, and just announced early this morning, Plummer has defeated former Houston Mayor Anise Parker in the Democratic runoff for Harris County Judge. That was a nail-biter and less than 3 points deciding. And finally, yes, perhaps a hair spitefully, almost definitely reconsidering his life choices this morning is Republican Deer Park State Rep Briscoe Cain, who was soundly trounced by his Trump-endorsed opponent Alex Mueller in the CD9 race. For everyone who ended up on the winning side in any of these races, we hope you'll revel in the thrill of victory and redouble your efforts to experience that same thrill this fall. The real game for the real marbles begins now. Here at Progress Texas, we're in it for the long haul, and we hope you'll stick with us. A lot of ground to cover and a lot of Texan hearts and minds to win over the next 5 months. It's going to go by fast, so don't waste any time. Let's get going right now. This is going to be a fun one. We're gearing up for our 16th anniversary celebration in Dallas. Save that date. It's Tuesday, June 16th. Thanks to our good friends Howard Cleon, the Honorable Yasmin Simon, Charles Zeller, Alex Andrade, Will Judy, the Honorable Dick Levine, Nancy Sanders, Mark Melton, Sarah Peretta, and Jason Smith, and the rest of our party sponsors as well. We can't do it without you. Our live events are a major way that we keep doing what we do at Progress Texas, and by sponsoring and attending, you're helping us continue our important work during this crucial election year. Learn how to support and to join us live at progresstexas.org. Houston listeners, the next episode of our In Progress Roundtable show will come to you on the radio tomorrow in the middle of a new Thursday afternoon block of progressive political programming. In Progress starts at 6:30 p.m. every Thursday on KPFT 90.1 FM after the Progressive Forum and before the Midterm show with Ernest Wittring. And it runs a second time every Sunday morning at 11 on KPFT FM HD2. With your support, we hope to expand our radio footprint beyond Houston this year. Click the link in the show notes to make your tax-deductible donation to help us reach new audiences via Texas Radio. Also, our web store is live at the website with the merch to match your progressive values. Newly released Humans Against Abbott, Y'all Means All, and our very popular Resist shirts, stickers, and buttons. That's all at progresstexas.org in the web store to support your favorite podcast network today. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. When lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, your support for fact-based reporting is needed and appreciated. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll catch you again right here tomorrow morning.